Vanished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room. Sega Dreamcast Week continues with a bad Sega Dreamcast game. This is Vanishing Point for the Dreamcast, published by Acclaim, a game that you'll hope disappears quickly. You cannot celebrate an entire week of the Sega Dreamcast without celebrating some of the bad games on the Dreamcast. Games like Vanishing Point, which is thankfully better than Fighting Force 2, but so is being kicked in the shins. Anyway, I'm just gonna go out there and say it. I think this game is terrible. It's one of the worst driving games I've ever played. And that's a shame because it looks pretty good. It's not a bad looking game on the Dreamcast. The problem with Vanishing Point is the controls. Every car feels like a 1984 town car that's out of inspection. Seriously, this game would have you believe that a Ford Explorer with 200,000 miles on the shocks handles exactly the same as a brand new Dodge Viper. Every car in this game floats, and that makes driving really frustrating because you're going to run into something and spin your car around and lose the entire championship on the last race and want to smash your Dreamcast into bits, which of course you do not want to do. Take it out on that other game console with waggle controllers you haven't touched in 2 years. It's disposable, but the Dreamcast is there for you. Sadly, this game really isn't. The behind the car camera perspective is pretty much unplayable because it slides all over the place and just doesn't make any rational sense compared to any other driving game in existence. So the cockpit view is the best way to drive, but the control problems are still present. And you know, that sucks because it runs smoothly, there's licensed cars in the game, and it even has some decent challenge modes that you can unlock, which are better than all of the races in the game. The problem with the championship or tournament races is that you're gonna spin your car around and lose, because you have to come in first place every time. Which is pretty much impossible to do when you're bouncing around the track like your car is on springs. Not a terribly exciting or enjoyable driving game unless you dig unlocking vehicles like the Ford Ranger or Mercury Sable station wagon. That's right, keep an eye out for the Lincoln Town Car as well, because after the race you may want to fill the trunk with every copy of this game in existence and drive it off a cliff where it should promptly explode. That's really the only thing I can think of. I've driven a town car before, and I think all of the driving and handling characteristics in this game are modeled after a nearly broken down town car. If you like techno or hard electronic music, you'll certainly dig the soundtrack. I think the environments look great for a year 2000 driving game, but you have so many better options if you're looking for a good racing game on the Dreamcast. Sega GT Test Drive Le Mans, Metropolis Street Racer, Tokyo Extreme Racer 2, F355 Challenge, the list goes on and on and on. Just ignore this game. Make it vanish from your mind. Make it vanish from existence. Let's see if this thing plays any better with the Dreamcast wheel than it does with the controller. I don't have high hopes, but that was good because high hopes would have been dashed against the rocks and then stomped on. It handles horribly even with the wheel. Oh look, an airplane! Maybe the designers should have spent a little more time on the handling and less time with airplanes and stuff in the background. Terrible game. Lousy with the controller and equally awful with the wheel. At least your vehicles don't take any damage. In fact, there's no reason to use the brakes, just run into things. To slow down, try to keep facing forward. Vanishing Point. So a huge Classic Game Room shout out and thank you to my man Frank from San Leandro, California. Frank, you knew this game was awful when you sent it, didn't you? It has a cool name, it has good looking packaging. You tricked me, Frank. And you lied to me once again, Acclaim, although, to be honest, by now I should just expect that from you. It's Vanishing Point on the Dreamcast, proving that even the mighty Sega Dreamcast can't avoid bad... My phone's dying. That's a good way to end the review.